Hello and welcome back to Soulfoot and Guidance. Today we are going to get into kind of some of the nitty-gritty details about conscious parenting using human design. So I really want to make sure that we get into what even conscious parenting is, how human design can help us with the parenting part of conscious parenting, and the each parent being fully who they are so that they are a model of how to show up for themselves and not dim their light and all of those kinds of things. So we're going to get into it. So I feel like conscious parenting is one of those maybe more buzzy words, but what conscious parenting is, to me, starts before someone even has a child and then continues when someone does. And I would say, I don't think you even need to just be a parent in order to be consciously focused on the health of the next generations to come and how that health of generations to come is interconnected to the health of the planet and the health of other animals and just kind of like the collective benefit of us all. And so I think that part of this conversation is really huge, where it's not, a lot of people are choosing to not have kids. And that is part of conscious parenting, right? Choosing not to have children and making that choice and being mindful and thinking about it and talking about it and like truly deciding not to or deciding to have kids, all is part of conscious parenting. So I guess we could say conscious conception, conscious parenting. And this is something that's really important to me because it's something that I experienced. And like if I take myself to being, an 18-year-old or even like a 25-year-old, I had it set in my being that I was not going to be a parent, that I was not going to be a mother, that I was not going to have a baby. To be honest, like pregnancy kind of freaked me out, and even thinking about getting pregnant freaked me out. But I had this like stern, and I would talk to my parents about it a lot of like, don't expect any grandkids from me, or just kind of swinging to this far side of like, I will not have a child. And that's also not really conscious either, because I didn't really think about it. It was kind of more of this like pushing away this thing. And in my experience, it wasn't even something that I wanted until I met my husband. And then I truly had like a body experience that was like, oh, okay, I actually could see myself bringing a human into the world with this particular person. But anyone I had been with before that, it was a no. Like I couldn't even envision myself going there with them. And then, so when I was at a human design retreat in 2024, I want to say, I did a lot of healing and processing around basically like the generational trauma for women up until me, where having kids was just an expectation, right? It was just something you did. It's not even something you got to think about. And if you were a woman who didn't have a kid, it was like a really big deal, right? And some women being almost like exiled or just like not respected. And so on this retreat, doing breath work and things like that, like I had this awareness of like, okay, my grandma, it was just so expected. She was going to have kids. And she ended up having 8 children in 10 years. And then my mom had more of a choice than my grandma did about having kids to a certain extent. And even then, having kids, conscious parenting wasn't really a thing. And no one was talking about that. And I see conscious parenting as parenting for the specific child that you have, right? We are parenting them based on their needs and parenting them based on how to help them be a human who can emotionally regulate and navigate the world, but they also have a very loving, emotionally connected home. And I just had a lot of that processing when I was at that retreat of not only am I actually choosing, because I could easily not have kids, right? Like, that's because it's even becoming more common. No one would really bat an eye, or no one that I guess I should say, spend a lot of time with anymore would really care. And I have friends that don't really want to have kids. Other friends who have kids already. And I was like the last one to have kids in certain friend groups. But I'm the first woman in my family on either side where I chose not only I want to be a parent, but the second part of that of I want to be the kind of parent where I raise my daughter to be exactly who she is. Not who I decide she should be, not who I even decide she is. I want to be the kind of parent who is more of like a steward and a guide for her rather than trying to shape her into something that she's not, or shape her into something based on somebody else's rules about what a kid should be or how they should act. There's still room in that, right, to parent. It's still, there are things that we don't do, things that are not safe. There's still tons of parenting in that. It's more just like grounding in that, and I'll use my daughter as an example. She is already a full human, right? She already has strengths and a purpose and gifts and shadows, and she already has all of those things baked in, and it's not my job to mess with that. It's my job to support her through it. So this is where human design comes in on kind of the two fronts of it, right? So in human design, you basically get a human design chart with, as long as you know the person's where they were born, the date of birth, and the exact time of birth, you get a human design chart. And in that chart, it tells you so much information. It tells you how that, I'll use children as an example, how children, how their energy moves, how they're meant to make decisions, things that they're going to be probably really good at, things that are going to be a challenge, a core wound, something that they're going to have to overcome, which I think is also really powerful when it's like, it's not all about parenting and what we do right or what we do wrong. We are here to learn lessons, and we are here to evolve and grow. So we're all going to have things that we're meant to overcome and work through that don't even have to do with our parents and who we chose to come into the world with. Often parents just amplify things that are already there, or they pass on things that were unhealed and move to the next generation as a wounding. But because they have this chart that really is kind of like this full roadmap of who this child is, there are ways that we can use it to support them greatly. So, for example, if a child is a generator or a manifesting generator, from a young age, we can start to support that child in learning how to listen to what they want, learning how to listen to what's exciting to them, what they love doing. So many people I work with have had a lot of trauma in childhood that actually makes it really hard for them to tell what they want, what they're excited about, right? It's almost like that message from their sacral center is quieted down and they don't actually know what they want. And trauma healing can unlock and allow someone to hear it a little bit more. But the cool part about parenting with human design, and it doesn't mean you have to have known this from a baby, right? You can start now if you didn't know about human design and your child is any age, even if they're an adult. And so having this knowledge, it's like, okay, I can, like, for example, I do this with food with my daughter. So she has a sacral center and her sacral noises are really loud, right? She gets excited about certain food. And so we practice honoring that. Like when she has 3 things on her plate, but she's the most excited about one of those things, we go with that and we lean into it. And, there are other parts of the chart of like a cognition or like this sense that is the strongest for us. I'll use mine. Mine is taste. And so if a kid has taste, right, we're really listening to what they like and what they don't like taste-wise. we're going to be really supportive of helping them learn what do they like, what do they not like. Maybe for me, and my parents did a really good job with this part without even knowing, which I always think is cool when that happens, of like really being someone who loves to explore with food. Like I always say, I'll try anything twice. I'll try anything maybe more than twice sometimes, right? If I didn't like it the first time, maybe the second time I'm going to have it cooked a little different, or I'm going to have it in a different place. There's eventually going to get to a place where I'm like, I just don't like it, which is rare. But I bring things in through my sense of taste. So there are different senses. There are ways that kids are meant to eat, right? So if someone has a left arrow in their diet and digestion section, then they're meant to be really structured with food. And those are kids where like you will really notice if they don't eat after a certain amount of time, and they benefit from almost eating the same time every day. Where kids with a right arrow, maybe sometimes they're really hungry for that big breakfast, and other times they just kind of pick at it. And when we know these things, we don't have to get so nervous or worried, or we don't have to move into power struggles, because we can tune back into, oh, well, this is how they're designed. How do I work with that? How do I support them? Same with as you learn about your child's cross of incarnation, which is connected to who they're meant to be, their purpose. It's not like we're trying to move all the challenges out of their way, out of life, to make it so they can live into their purpose, but we can support them in, okay, I know this about them. And so when different things come up in their life, I can talk to them about it in a certain way, or I can support them in a certain way. Or like if a child has an emotional wave, that's huge, 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 huge in teaching them not to be afraid of emotions and not needing to know why all the time. And especially kids when they're just figuring it out, right? Like there might be a 3-year-old that just has the biggest tantrum, and it was just because of the wave, right? And it wasn't because of anything else, or like there's no way we're going to fix it. It's more of, are we attuning to them? Are we teaching them how to breathe? Are we teaching them how to be with it rather than distracting from it, right? We're teaching them the skills about how to navigate these things so they can be in flow with them. And again, the emotional wave is a really big one. Any kid that has one, like I am spending time with people in that spot. Same with adults, but kids is where we get to learn it for at the beginning for the first time. So those are just examples of like when we know about a kid's chart, we can really be supports, and we can help guide them, and we can even ask them questions in a certain way. It just gives us a little bit more insight into who they are. And it, human design doesn't predict like this person is going to be this, they're going to be in this job, or it's nothing like that, right? You can have someone with the same exact profile, the same exact strategy and authority, and same exact type as another kid, and they're going to be completely different. It just gives us language, and it gives us a framework when we are supporting them and being who they are. So that's the first part of that, conscious parenting with human design. The second part, and this part I am really passionate about because I don't hear a lot of people talking about it in conscious parenting spaces, is it is all well and good to support your kid and make sure they are who they are. But if a parent is constantly dimming their light, or feeling like they have to hustle to prove themselves, or they are putting tons of pressure on themselves, or they're not listening to their intuition, or they are rushing and burning themselves out, kids pick up on that stuff too, right? We have to make sure this is not like a do as I say, not as I do kind of space, because parents need to be modeling for their children at the same time that they're conscious parenting with human design, how to live into their own. And we actually, if we are completely tuned into our own strategy and authority, we don't really need to know what our kids' design is as much. Like, I'm a human design nerd. I love to know it. It's so helpful, and I do think it's helpful for people. But, like, if you could only know one thing as a parent and you had to choose, should I know my design or my kids', I'm going to say yours every time. Because when you know yours and you're connected to the parts of you that make you, you already make conscious parenting decisions, right? You already maybe check in and you're like, wait, why am I saying no to this when there's no reason for me to say no to this? Or why am I fighting with them about food when they want to eat all of this, all their beans and then all their rice and then all of this, when maybe that's how they're meant to work, right? When you are in tune with your own design, you listen to your strategy and authority. You know how to make decisions. You are living into your cross of incarnation. You are tuning into your shadows and your shadow work. That is a huge part of conscious parenting. Because kids are always watching, right? Like, they can feel it, they can sense it, they know it. And we owe it to them to model that, right? I often think of, like, the model I want to be for my daughter is someone who is fully herself. I want to be fully me because that's truly the thing that gives her the permission to be her. And even, when she's eventually going to make decisions around parenting, like, her getting to decide, do I even want to be a parent or not? And feeling really confident and secure that she already knows how to listen to herself. Someone with emotional authority being taught as a kid, maybe they automatically are like, hey, you know what? Let me think about that. I'm going to get back to you when I've had a chance to let that kind of move through me. And this is where it connects to the collective. So if kids are being consciously parented with human design or with whatever tool feels really wonderful, and a parent is really centered in who they are, it moves to the interconnectedness with all of it, right? We make better decisions as a collective when everyone is more in alignment. We have better relationships with our partners, with our family. Even people we don't really like that much. We have better relationships with them when we are tuned in to who we are, and when we are able to listen to our intuition and we are able to take pressure off of certain things, or we don't feel like we have to hustle to prove anything. How many of the world's problems are connected to greed and hustling to prove things and, all of those things. So it's kind of like, the child piece of it, the us as parents and adults part of it, moves into what is good for the world, what is good for the collective, and truly what is a way that we support each other in a deeper way. And we will go way more into conscious parenting, conscious relationships, all of those kinds of things. But I wanted to just give a brief overview of, like, how do we even do this? Why is it even important? Why is human design and conscious parenting even like a perfect marriage? So more to come. So follow and subscribe. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Soul Footing Guidance, and my website at soulfootingguidance.com. Currently, I'm doing readings, so individual, family, couples, and then I'm also doing one-on-one mentorship when people want to go really deep around conscious relationships, conscious parenting, breaking generational cycles. And you don't have to be in a relationship to participate in that. It's truly breaking relationship cycles, whether you're in them or not, with family of origin, people you've dated, kids, all of those things. So join me, and I will see you next time.